A record run of power cuts has pitched South Africa into darkness and forced President Ramaphosa to cut short an overseas trip so that he can oversee the response to a crisis he has repeatedly pledged to end. Outages have been imposed on homes and businesses for up to 9 hours a day to prevent the national grid from total collapse. Mr. Ramaphosa has now cancelled his scheduled trip to this week's UN General Assembly in New York to deal with the crisis. Well, for more on this, let's cross live to Johannesburg and speak to Arise South Africa correspondent Mchalisi Masango. Good to see you, Mchalisi. If your president has to cancel his trip to a very important UN General Assembly meeting to deal with an electricity crisis, it must be pretty dire.
Look, it seemingly points to that, Charles. I can tell you right now, because from yesterday, the indication was that Ramaphosa would, of course, after the Queen's funeral, be headed straight back to Washington, D.C., where he would actually continue with his international trip, where he was expected to continue, just, of course, tightening up all his relations with his counterparts in the US of A. So it seems like he's had to cut it short due to the power grid issues that South Africa currently faces right now. And as I continue to have conversations with South Africans around this, the sense is a sense of frustration, is a sense of really having people having lost confidence in a government that is currently battling to barely keep the lights on right now, as it would actually even be a miracle for us to finish this conversation with the lights still on. That's just how bad it is. As we're having this conversation as well, the power utility Eskom has pointed out to say that there are measures that they've put in place to avoid a total system collapse. Whether those measures are going to be effective, seeing that South Africans have been plunged into darkness with a stage 6 alert warning from the power utility right now. And this has been a long time coming, Charles, with most independent power producers as well, who've been begging government to come onto the table to say, look, we do have solutions for your power crisis, but can you bring us to the discussion table? But seemingly those pleas have fell on deaf ears. So it's today all the way to the weekend that South Africans will be faced with stage 6 rolling blackouts.
And you mentioned there, Mchalisi, that this has been a long time coming, so it's been going on for some time. I wonder how ordinary South Africans are coping, because, for instance, in Nigeria, where they're used to power cuts, most people have generators that they can switch to. This has been going on here for quite some time. What's it like in South Africa? Do people have alternative sources of power?
Absolutely not, Charles. When you have people that are grappling with mere bread and butter issues, when you have people who are just wondering where their next meal is coming from, that issue about having the lights on or finding other alternatives is secondary for them in the country. I tell you what really breaks my heart is going through past the economic hub in Johannesburg, where you have some of the street vendors there who will tell you that they really do rely on energy and power to ensure that their businesses keep going. I had a conversation with a lady who says she supports about 5 of her children, as well as extended family members, with the money that she makes from her sewing business. But now her sewing machine doesn't work because of the power cuts, and now she's had to cut down on clients. She's unable to get people who are going to come and give her business, and she doesn't even have money to get alternative sources of power. So it's at this particular time that it's mostly South Africans, ordinary South Africans, that are feeling the pinch of this energy crisis.
I suppose the question from our point of view is what really is the problem with the national grid, Mchalisi? We know that South Africa generates thousands more electricity in capacity than Nigeria does. Why do things seem to be about to buckle right now?
Charles, as a media practitioner, for me, I just wouldn't really want to delve into the realm of speculation. But what things point to right now is utter maladministration that we've seen from the tenure of President Jacob Zuma moving up to the point where we are right now, where there were red flags to show that of course, the power grid is under immense strain. What did those people do during that time? They chose to go amok and, of course, continue to loot state coffers, to continue to, of course, make sure that some of these power stations buckle under pressure, which is where we are right now. So if I can tell you from face value, it really does look like it was a case of, poor administration at that time, from the time of President Jacob Zuma to the point that we're at right now. And it doesn't look like there is a solution that is going to be in sight, because there was some sort of hope that was instilled in South Africans with the incoming CEO of Eskom, Andre de Ruyter, when he was appointed. It was said that he understands how power works, but he's just a lawyer. But he was told that, South Africans were told rather that, he would come up with solutions for the power utility. But it would seem like the problems of Eskom, which is the power utility in South Africa, draw back to the point where Jacob Zuma was in power back in the time, where we've seen the likes of course, Brian Molefe, who was with Eskom at the time, also go on a looting spree with Eskom, of course. And we've seen also during that time the likes of Matsela Koko, who was also, of course, the chief operations officer at the utility at that time, who saw things go down south and did nothing about it during that time, which is why South Africans are now faced with the prospect of really not having power for the next week or so. It remains to be seen, even, Charles, that South Africans will have power coming for the next coming weeks, but it doesn't really look promising at this time, seeing that even Eskom themselves have come out to give a media briefing to say that they do not guarantee that South Africans will have power, and they cannot even guarantee that South Africans will not be escalated to another power alert, which would mean more lengthier power outages in the country.
I have to say, it all sounds very depressing, but we want to thank you, Mchalisi, for bringing us that story. Mchalisi Masango is a Rise's South Africa correspondent, and he was talking to me there from Johannesburg.